I am exhausted but feeling inspired. That's because I just completed the San Diego Summit for IVAT. What is IVAT? Well, it stands for the Institute on Violence, Abuse, and Trauma. It's a 501c3 nonprofit that condones violence and oppression in all forms. They host 2 international summits annually, one in Hawaii and one in San Diego, which is the one I just completed. What is a summit? Well, this is from their website directly. The San Diego Summit is a unique forum for professionals across all disciplines and philosophies to gather for in-depth exchange of current information on all facets of violence, abuse, and trauma prevention, intervention, treatment, and research. And let me tell you, having just completed a few days here, it's exactly that, and a whole lot more. Speaking of that more, they have therapy ponies. More on that later. And now for the million-dollar question, why was I at IVAT? Well, that can be summed up in one word: tomorrow. Tomorrow is the award-winning short film written and directed by my dear friend Karis Campbell. I was honored to executive produce it. We completed the film festival circuit, and after that, we had always imagined that the film would do more in the way of inspiring conversation, challenging perspectives, and maybe even being a sort of teaching tool. A few years back, while promoting the film, I made contact with Pamela Pine at Stop the Silence. She put us in contact with the folks at IVAT, and they watched the film. They were very interested in us being a part of the summit in San Diego, and I'm so happy that we decided to join this year. Before I discuss our amazing session for tomorrow and the amazing participants, I want to share a little bit more about what the entire summit held and what kind of events and speakers they had. So here we go.
I'm not going to be doing anything nearly as entertaining or as good as the dancing that we just saw. Sorry to just disappoint you all. There will be no interpretive dance from me today. Lance and I decided, instead of standing back, that we were going to do something, right? And we saw over and over and over again the failure of our government to do anything substantial about gun violence. So we rose up after Parkland in the immediate aftermath, and we said, we're going to do something. As many survivors like Nicole Hockley, who's here today, and so many others have done before us.
A man of my word. Here are some more ponies. Therapy ponies. IVAT provided therapy ponies and, of course, therapy dogs like this little cutie named Graham.
You want to sit for the photo? Good luck.
Yeah, I'm doing video.
Hi, buddy. Oh, that's just the therapy I needed today.
Renewed from our furry friends, we head back into another session. Sessions are really the heart and soul of IVAT, and there are a ton of them over the couple of days summit. I'm going to read a few titles just to give you some sense of what is available. Obviously, everything is on the website, but cultural healing practices, non-punitive and restorative alternatives to criminal justice, supporting adolescent survivors of trauma in school settings, romance scams targeting older adults, healing from intimate partner violence through social support, cultivating a safer society, strategies for coping with violence exposure, and of course, our session, which was titled Changing Narratives Around Child Abuse, Short Films and Interactive Discussion. After fueling up, it was time to head to our session, which was Tuesday morning at 8:30. Our interactive session was moderated by Pamela Pine, the woman who connected us to IVAT originally. And our session consisted of a screening of our film, then Pamela and Karis and I having a discussion, a second screening of the film so that the audience would have a different experience, and then we opened it up to a Q&A with the audience. Here's a few highlights. Getting ready to do our screening.
Number one, congratulations. Congratulations. The subtlety and the quiet pace in the movie is just impressive and brilliant. Being a loudmouth advocate myself, I think there needs to be a lot more room for quiet, subtle messages.
I commend you for speaking up for yourself, because some of us in this room today are survivors. I'm one. I just never share my story because we feel we can be judged. Even as adults, people want to judge us, look down on us, so I barely share my story. Mine did not happen in a daycare, it happened with a relative. My mother died when I was 8 years old. So I thank you for that.
Thank you. But I did want to comment on what you said about talking about being a survivor. This is one of the reasons that I'm much more present, and it's a process for everybody, and I allow for that, but is the conversations, the comments that like the gentleman right there talked about. Part of the nuance of the film is because it's partly my experience, and it's so uniquely my experience, and Karis had that ability to put that into a story, but that story has spawned all of these comments and questions and concerns and thoughts, and as he illustrated, you'll go away and think about elements and parts of it. There's some real power in that, obviously, because that's where we make change, when we start to have these conversations and allow for things to be not in a box, because it is a complicated. I was like, whoa. Somebody's very excited about what I said. But yeah, so it is important to speak your truth if you feel comfortable, because others will grow from it. They will learn and be inspired. So I encourage everyone to speak their truth.
Generations apart, and the descriptions of how she was behaving were identical. And it was a really thoughtful investigator who made that connection and was ultimately able to have this hearing. But prior to the hearing, we were having dinner, and he started sharing details about her. And I literally, it'll make me emotional because I was a mom at that point, and I literally thought I was gonna throw up because he started describing this young, attractive woman and how it was in her home in this like brightly lit room with lots of toys. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've told this story to myself for years, that this was like Dickensian, you know, this dark basement, this cranky old lady, and drips coming from the ceiling. And I know his mother, and I know well enough that she never would have dropped her children off someplace that didn't seem safe. And I thought, gosh, I've relied on a lot of caregivers for the last handful of years as a working mother, and would I have recognized the environment? And how do I need to be talking to my kids differently? How do I need to be empowering them to recognize when boundaries have been violated? Because they don't happen all at once. It's these tiny violations that then get built up. You know, tomorrow ends. What happens tomorrow with this little boy? Like, this is gonna be cumulative.
But why don't we have a round of applause for the wonderful work?
There was so much more feedback in our session and outside of it that we received. It was such a truly amazing experience at IVAT. I highly encourage anyone to get involved, and I'm going to leave this little clip of Karis because I think it sums it all up perfectly.
Making my coffee too.
Yes, of course. It's a TikTok video.
Okay, it's great. I don't do TikTok, I don't know.
So, Karis, we're at the IVAT. How do you feel our last day at IVAT?
I feel amazing. This has been an incredibly profound experience on a lot of levels. I've never been to a conference like this before, as you know. And I think when we set out to make this film, though it was very rewarding on a different level to do the film festival circuits, being in an environment like this, which is, we're just surrounded by these incredible clinicians and people who are experts in this field, to be able to share a film in this context has been deeply, deeply meaningful, and was really the intention all along, was for it to have this kind of impact and be in environments where it can really be leveraged as a tool to spark deep discussion and really question some of the ways we think about advocacy and abuse. And so it's been incredibly rewarding. I'm really delighted that we got to be here.